What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today is Monday, July 19th, 2 days after the LA Galaxy played, I would say, mediocre game against the Whitecaps. They didn't get the job done. But we're here to talk about it all. We're going to discuss it, break it down. We're also going to talk some Gold Cup, what we saw from Mexico, what we saw from the U.S. But here to help me talk all about that, we got Alex from Total Galaxy. We got Andy Deossa and then full-time Jonny. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Good. Just busy as always, man. Having a good time watching some soccer.
Andy, what jersey are you wearing?
This is Deportivo Independiente Medellin. I told you every time I'm on the show from here on out, I got to wear a soccer jersey. And I'm kind of getting nervous because I feel like you invited me on to see if I run out. And I'm not going to run out.
Well, is that like a Colombian team, I think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Colombian team. Where's your jersey, Alex? You usually wear some jerseys. What happened?
Not today, bro. It's hot. I just had to wear white. I was wearing black for last week, and I'm like, hell no, not that anymore. So I'm just rocking the white today.
I'm with you. It is hot. It's also hot in my apartment. I got the fan going and stuff, but man, it's been a hot week in LA. But yeah, man, let's talk about the Gold Cup. Obviously, we'll talk about the US. They ended up winning 1-0. They ended up playing in Kansas City. I think the one thing that was pretty cool, I don't know if you guys saw that, but Patrick Mahomes was at the game. He showed up there. So it's always cool to see when, you have other athletes from other sports come and support, the U.S. team and support the city as well, because it was played at the Sporting Kansas City Stadium. Alex, what were your thoughts on the U.S. men's national team?
Really sluggish game, to be honest. Like, the U.S. were lucky they scored within the first minute, because after that, it was just really hard to watch. Jossie Sardes and Daryl DK did not look good. They didn't complement one another well. And, luckily Berhalter, found that out in the group stage and not, let's say, semifinals or even the final, if he wanted to experiment that. So that was kind of a blessing in disguise, really. And then Busio and Acosta kind of weren't really playing up to par. Busio's getting his new move to Venezia in Italy soon. He's going to get a Sporting SKC here can get a buttload of money for that young player who's really good. He's a stud, man. But overall, the USMNT really were kind of lucky to come away with a win. Canada had some decent chances. Just that finishing touch wasn't there. And, another concern for them is Walker Zimmerman. He's their main defender, main center back, the captain of the team. So we'll have to see what is up with his injury and how it'll affect the team, because on the defensive end of the spectrum for this team, most of the players are like getting their maybe like third or fourth cap with the national team, So they're being put in this position really early and in a really crucial time of the tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, they did get the win. I think they won all 3 games. They got 9 points. They're going to be they're first in their group, and they're on to the quarterfinal. Jonny, what were your thoughts? We know Sebastian Lletget got the assist of the game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're all happy about that. But it's a little frustrating watching the U.S. play these types of games, because you want them to, outperform everyone. But mostly this tournament has kind of been lackluster, and for us, especially the U.S. men's national team. And it felt the same way against Canada. It felt like we were just kind of, taking the foot off of the pedal the entire game. We weren't being creative. We weren't trying to make chances. The chemistry was off with the team. And, I feel like it wasn't really a win, even though we got 1-0 right away. It didn't really walk away. I didn't walk away thinking that was a win. I didn't feel like it was. And at the end of the day, when we play Canada, and we want to beat Canada every time, especially on our home turf. We want to dominate, because we're probably going to play Mexico at some point of this tournament, probably. And like, you have to ask yourself, do you really think that the U.S. men's national team, this national team, can play Mexico? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, right? And obviously, if they do play now the way the tournament set up, they would face each other in the final. Andy, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, basically everything you guys already said. The most important thing is they did get the win. So I was actually on the post game call with Berhalter, and he was kind of just like, "Hey, man, this is not great. This was tough." It's really weird to me that they were talking about the weather, which I don't understand why that was the case, but it was weird. I think this is the fear that we all had coming into this tournament when we saw the team that Berhalter was bringing. It's like, this is an experimental team. It's a way to try to get these players some minutes to kind of see what he has to move forward when it comes to qualifiers. But you guys are right. If it wasn't for that early goal, we're talking maybe about a completely different game. Canada was up for it, and obviously when you're playing a game of I guess, that magnitude, that rivalry, you're going to have that intensity, and the U.S. really never brought it besides those opening minutes. So, yeah, a little worrisome because now you're moving into the quarterfinal stage, and the way that the bracket's set up and what we saw from El Salvador, which I'm sure we'll speak about, is like that's not going to be an easy game for the U.S. if they are to advance to the semifinals. So, you get a good sensation after they have that, that Nations League win or whatever the hell they call that 2-game tournament. And now you're like kind of taking a step back and seeing, hey, could these youngsters get it done? So it leaves a lot to be desired, but hey, it's a long week. They don't play again until the weekend, so maybe they could have a good regroup and then go from there. But yeah, it wasn't too impressive at all.
Andy gave me another reason why I'm not confident in Berhalter, talking about the weather in a game that really wasn't that, good looking for the team. I'm still not sold on Berhalter yet, but that's just me. I'll let you guys, keep going.
Well, I was gonna say, I have been to Kansas City. It does get pretty humid. I know that they've played in Texas and stuff, and I know it also gets pretty humid there. So I think they may be talking about the humidity out there, because in the Midwest, the humidity is it's like weird. It's difficult to explain, but it is hard to play. If you're not used to it. Obviously, if you come from the West Coast, or even if you come from Arizona, where I've lived, the dry heat, it doesn't compare because it's hard to breathe. And what they were playing, like 2-3 o'clock in the West Coast time. So I know it was probably pretty hot and pretty difficult for them. So I think that had to do something with it. But then again, these guys are pros. Yeah, you definitely expect more out of these guys. And I think you also was talking about the sync. They don't look like they should be as sync. Obviously, there's a couple moving pieces. Maybe could you use a different formation and everything like that. But to your point, Andy, yeah, El Salvador, talking to our next topic, we had Mexico versus El Salvador. El Salvador gained a lot of respect from me because I expected Mexico to win, but I was like, okay, they'll probably be able to win like 2-0 or something like that, something very defining. But Mexico really struggled to play against El Salvador. If it wasn't for Chaca Rodriguez's goal, even the keeper had a couple blocks on Funes Mori. But Alex, what were your thoughts on the Mexico versus Salvador game?
I think we can all agree, El Salvador really showed us that they're up for the occasion, really. And this game was really vital for El Salvador. They needed these 3 points in order to win the group. So did Mexico. So, this game wasn't going to be, a walk in the park for either team. They're both playing with something on the line. If El Salvador won, they literally would have changed the entire bracket and literally everybody's predictions on if we would have a USA-Mexico final. El Salvador played really well with the ball. Were really able to be aware of the spaces Mexico was kind of giving them at times. And then, Funes Mori, had good chances, but just couldn't, finish it there. I would say that's maybe the first bad game from Funes Mori with the Mexican national team. I know he's a really good striker in Mexico, and I think he'll bounce back. He's shown it in the Gold Cup with some great goals so far. And overall, this Mexican team, I think, after the Nations League final, it feels like they're kind of missing something, the confidence that they had, that swagger, it doesn't really seem to be translated too much on the pitch now than compared to the games that they played beforehand, the Nations League final. So I think Mexico is still trying to find their way. And, obviously the injury to Chucky Lozano is really going to change the team and just how they're thinking and all that stuff too. So they're obviously dealing with a bit of that in the background as well. But Mexico were able to get the job done. Hopefully they have some stronger performances in the knockout stage. But I really think El Salvador, we learned a lot more from El Salvador than we did from Mexico this game.
Yeah, we definitely did. Johnny, what were your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, Alex pretty much touched up on everything perfectly. At the beginning of this tournament, when I saw Mexico's lineup with Chucky and, obviously Jonah, I mean, as a sub is great. But the problem is that the second Chucky was gone, the entire competitive edge of Mexico wasn't there, because I felt like the big game changer for the entire tournament with Mexico was that the U.S. men's national team, we didn't have any of our best guys. This is our C team, and we all kind of own that. If we lose to Mexico, I don't think we're going to take it as personal as we usually do with that in mind. And then having Mexico with Lozano was like, oh man, this tournament, like, we're done. It is what it is. But it's kind of showing that, like, Mexico's not really recovering well. I still think that they're a better team than the U.S. men's national team currently. But they still have a lot of work to do with this tournament. And it seems like they've also been playing catch up a lot as well. I mean, they've been possessing a lot better than the U.S. has in their games. They've looked a lot better than the U.S. has in their games. But even with that being said, they still look like they have tons of holes in their game.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the thing that makes it interesting. You talk about Chucky now. Pizarro is going to be able to come in and place. I think CONCACAF allowed some COVID. I forget the word, but it allowed to bring in a player because of COVID. Someone got COVID or anything like that, injury wise. So Pizarro is going to come in. He hasn't looked good with Miami. He hasn't done too much. So we'll see how much he's able to help Mexico with that. But well, I'll go to you, Andy. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna show the CONCACAF Gold Cup bracket and give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you guys touched on the Mexico part of it. From El Salvador, I think they were just very composed, and I think that was the most impressive part of how they played. Like, you go into that game, I mean, in your mind, you're kind of thinking, all right, man, we have nothing to lose here. I'm sure they're gunning for, we're going to win this, and we're going to, try to do our best. But the stadium looked like it was more El Salvador fans than Mexico fans, which was a big talking point. They played hard. Like they like Alex said, if they would have won, they would have thrown everything off completely. So they were up for the challenge the same way that Canada was up for the challenge against the US. And I think that kind of translated through the 90 minutes. Honestly, at the end, those last 15 minutes, I was like, there's no way that they don't get this equalizer here. And that's all they really needed. So it's good to see, man. It's good to see because when you talk about the CONCACAF, you talk about these teams that sometimes the competition is very not up to par. And when you're trying to qualify for a World Cup or play in these tournaments, like you need some competition levels that are, that are going to challenge you. And it can't just be the same three with Mexico, US, and Costa Rica here and there. So it's good to see Canada play to that level against the US. It's good to see Salvador play to that level against Mexico. And from the Mexico side, I mean, I'm not as impressed. I mean, the same way with the US. Like, you come in expecting a certain thing, but besides the early goal itself, I'm like, I didn't see anything that was like, wow. Of course, they were a lot more composed, and obviously Tata has a system that he wants to play, and he's able to do that. But there's still a lot more to be seen. I mean, I would not be shocked to see something crazy happen within these next few rounds when it comes to Mexico or the U.S. I mean, I know they have the perception that they have to be in the final, it has to be them two against each other, but I wouldn't be shocked either way if something crazy happened.
Yeah, and I think, like El Salvador definitely surprised everybody, like I said earlier. But if we look at the bracket, obviously in the quarterfinals, El Salvador is already qualified quarterfinals. Obviously, U.S. on the left-hand side, obviously Mexico, and then obviously Canada. I will be at the game next Saturday, so I'm excited to see that. And right now, it's shaping up that Mexico is going to play against Qatar. That's where it's shaping up right now, but I think they still got to play tomorrow, I believe, to define the quarterfinal spots for everybody. But yeah, look, if you look at El Salvador, they could pretty much, they could face the U.S. if they continue to play like they did yesterday. And that's not going to be an easy game for the U.S. I mean, it's going to be a very difficult game because I really felt like the reason why Mexico struggled, it wasn't because Mexico wasn't playing well, it was because El Salvador is that good. And they were a free kick away from tying the game and from literally putting Mexico on the second place on the group, and they were literally just away because he had been Talavera. And I mean, and to your point, there was more El Salvador fans at the game at the combo than Mexico fans, and you rarely see that here in the United States. But it goes to show how much how much of the South America, Central American people are here in the U.S. Because I just thought that it was only in Los Angeles, but I was wrong. In Dallas, Texas, for them to show up and that amount of numbers, it was pretty exciting. And then, if we talk about in the future, El Salvador is going to potentially play their home games in the U.S. So that's going to be big for them because I think I don't know what's going on in their country. I believe it's COVID related, but they're not going to be playing their games at home, and they're going to be playing in the U.S. So if they have a crowd like that, I mean, if they come to L.A., I mean, it's a home field advantage for them either way. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in these quarterfinals. But quickly, I want to give some shout outs to people in the chat. Tony Bonola says, "Hey y'all, Galaxy Guy Podcast says saludos hermanos." G-Man says, "What's up?" And G-Man always he said, "Be sure to give thumbs up to the video." That I'll go. Gio Loki told me that everyone that thumbs up gets a free subscription to his OnlyFans.
I'm giving it 2 thumbs down.
Yeah, I don't have that. I look, if I didn't care about, if I was a girl and I could make $1 million, I would think about it. But then again, it's not for me. But shout out to everybody that is willing to do that and willing not to care about their dignity and stuff, because it's, I don't know, that is for a G-Man and his friends, but not for me. But yeah, let's talk about the LA Galaxy, man. The LA Galaxy, man, we thought this was a for sure win. Like I thought this was a for sure win. I forgot who I was talking to. I was going to the LAFC game. I was like, nah, they're gonna win. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be
I told you
even
before
without
the game, 3-0 minimum.
Yeah. Even well, I think I was talking to you, Andy. I was like, it's a for sure win. Even if Chicharito's not playing, they're gonna win. And obviously, that was not the case. They were up in the first 4 minutes of the game. You know, Revolution ended up scoring a header, which was pretty amazing. But Alex, give me your thoughts going into this game.
So yeah, you know, you guys said it perfectly on the play for me. You know, this was seen on paper as the easiest match going into this road trip. Vancouver haven't looked good in the past week, missing a lot of their key players. Their goalkeeper and their best player overall in Cavallini, both representing Canada at the Gold Cup. So, you know, that's a little bit easier for the Galaxy as well. You know, and beforehand, you know, in the last game they played against the Whitecaps, they did struggle a bit. The Galaxy, you know, Efrain Alvarez got that game-winning goal. So I came in with the mentality that, hey, we'll win, but I think this will be a little bit harder than people make it to seem. And it eventually just became just hard for the Galaxy afterwards, because the Galaxy definitely were the better team in the first half, but everything just definitely collapsed after the second half. And you could see that both on a defensive and offensive standpoint. The offense was a lot more sluggish and just really playing a lot more sloppy. You're seeing all these long balls going in and nobody's near there. These passes that are getting intercepted easily that, you know, even I on the screen can anticipate that this pass is going here and there. You know, that's something, you know, you shouldn't really be, as a fan watching this game, something you should be seeing from your team when you can easily anticipate what passes are going to which player, because the opposition also has that mentality in mind as well. And defensively, you know, I think it was the second goal, you could see the communication just wasn't there. 3 players committing on one player, leaving another player open and scoring the game-winning goal eventually. So it was really frustrating night. Not the way that you want the Galaxy to show up with a team that's in last place, and then having to stay there at Rio Tinto Stadium because they're playing RSL midweek. So I'm, you know, Ethan Zubak said it before. This team's trying not to lose back-to-back games. So we'll see if they can bounce back against RSL, who they did lose to LAFC, but I still think they're a dangerous team. You know, win or lose, whatever their last result was, I still think they're a dangerous team. And if the Galaxy can get a result there, then it's definitely going to help out when they go face Dallas.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy game with RSL. Though I think the positive about this is that they didn't have to travel; they were able to stay there. But I'm gonna pull up the lineup here so we can talk about the lineup. But Jonny, yeah, give me your thoughts on what you thought about this game and the way the Galaxy played.
See, I think the best part about the MLS is that you can lose games. You can be 3rd, 4th place and still win the MLS Cup and still win the trophy at the end. And I think Greg Vanney understands that. That's why he's a masterclass manager within this league. Now, with that being said, do I think Greg Vanney thought this would be, you know, a tie or a loss? Absolutely not. All of us went into this game saying we know we can win this game. But with this being said, we're still, I know, and I hate to beat the dead horse here, but we're still rebuilding. This year is actually a rebuilding year. As Galaxy fans, we all know that we've been saying this every single year since 2014. Oh, we're rebuilding. Nope. This is actually a rebuilding year. So even if this season doesn't go the way as planned, even if we lose to Salt Lake and we lose to Vancouver and the worst teams, the fact that we have something to take away from each of those games is positive. Yes, that was such a disappointing game against Vancouver. The effort didn't seem like it was 100%. There were so many mistakes. The Derek Williams was kind of like everywhere. Like it seemed like a mess, but all of it was easy fixes. And to think that we haven't actually been in a 100% team since the start of the season, that's pretty amazing. We haven't had all of our starters ever this season yet, and we're doing pretty good with that in mind. So obviously I'm disappointed about the game, but I'm not disappointed about the season. I'm not disappointed about the team. I think that all of these things are easy fixes, and in time, we're not going to have these problems.
Yeah, no, you make a great point about the LA Galaxy rebuilding, not just rebuilding, but also competing. You know, competing at a high level. I think they still sit 3rd. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean they're still sit 3rd without, you know, Chicharito, Jonah, Legit, you know, Efrain. But I want to look at the lineup. Obviously, you had Villafana, Derek Williams, Dupuis, Navarro on the back. Obviously, Jonathan Bond and Gold, Kleshman, Revolution, Vasquez, and obviously up top you had Cabral, Zubak, and Granzer. Yeah, I thought, you know, I think the biggest thing was you know, Kevin Cabral not being able to show up in this game because I mean he's a DP. He did get his goal, I believe, last home game. You know, so I think, you know, we're expecting a team against the Whitecaps to be able to continue that. But Andy, what were your thoughts on Kevin Cabral struggles in this game?
Yeah, it's getting to the point that, and I think Vanny mentioned this, I think it was last week or somewhere in the middle of the week, that he was happy to see him get his goal because, that pressure mounts up. And, you're not just looking at these players like, oh, they have to score. But in Cabral's case, especially with Chicharito not being there, like, he has to score. That is what him and Grandsir are out there to do. And obviously Cabral got his goal, not in this game, but has gotten his goal, and Grandsir is still looking for his. But you need to have them be more of a factor in that attacking end. And a game like this is the perfect opportunity to, because like you guys mentioned, you're not going into this game with the mindset like, all right, we're going to struggle. This is credit to Vancouver. Vancouver, even the game that the Galaxy won, the first one that they played a few weeks ago, that was an easy game for them. And that F goal was beautiful, but it's a tough team, regardless of them being down there in the standings. But like Alex has mentioned, they're missing Cavallini, they're missing Crepo, who's a very good keeper. And like you have your players that are out, but if you look at that Galaxy lineup, that's a solid lineup. That's a lineup that you expect that could get 3 points easily, not just in that game, really anywhere in the league. You have somebody like Vasquez alongside Kleshton, who are two veterans that have played soccer for a while that are quality players. And you were missing that. And it's that early goal mentality. Like, you get that early goal, kind of like the US, you get that early goal, and now you're kind of like on your back feet trying to defend this. And Vancouver played an awful first half, and that's been the story of their season. But this is the problem. If the Galaxy going into this game know these type of things, like, you have to at least get that second goal in that first half to alleviate what's going to happen, because even the first goal that Vancouver scores, whatever the case may be, Bond gets a good first block and it's a rebound. But if you don't have Cabral being a factor in that first half, if you don't have Grandsir, if you don't have Zubak, although he scored and it was called offside, you're gonna put yourself in these pressure situations. So Cabral, we were all excited to see what he could bring because we know he's a dynamic player and he's shown those flashes, but it kind of reminds me of Brian Rodriguez at LAFC when we were kind of just.
Oh man, I was about to say that, man.
And it's like, he does so much. He does so much.
Those are.
I
get what you're saying.
Yeah, Andy's not wrong. He's making.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But what I was gonna say,
and it's like right there. So like, I think they could both be well. And I said this on the show before, and I've said this, and like Johnny had mentioned, this is a rebuild, and these are players that are coming to a new country to get acclimated. But it's going to come a time that, that period that you have of leeway is over. And then it's going to come a time that you're going to have to start living up to these expectations. And as the season goes on, it's still early. They're still in third place, whatever. But if you think about how the weekend unfolded, Galaxy win this game. They're in second place. The gap closes against Seattle because Seattle loses. They jump over Sporting KC without three of their best players. And now you're looking at a weekend that talks about this next RSL game, which is going to be at the same stadium. Speaking of Greg's and weather, Greg Vaney also talked about the weather after this game and the altitude. Good luck. You have another one coming up, RSL, in the same place against a team that's going to be a lot more difficult than Vancouver. Then you travel to Dallas, which is going to be hot as hell. So if you want to talk about that stuff, that's different. But, it's MLS. Johnny put it the best way. This is the best thing about MLS. You lose these games, it happens. I was at the Revs game 2 weeks ago, the day after the game after Toronto fired their coach. Best team in the East, worst team in the East, and Toronto scored 3 goals in the first half in New England. Like, it's the craziness of this league. So I wouldn't put too much weight on the loss itself, but yeah, Cabral and Grandsir have to give you more.
Yeah, and I think you hit up on a lot of great points, especially with Kevin Cabral. Like, he is coming. I know. Sometimes the patience kind of runs out when it's a DP player, right? It runs out quicker, I should say. To me, it hasn't run out for Kevin Cabral, but especially I think when you're playing the last team in the Western Conference, and everybody's expecting you. Obviously, Chicharito's not there. I think for Kevin Cabral, I think he's still getting acclimated. He's still trying to get comfortable, and I think maybe he does feel some of the pressure, but I think for him it's like he's in a tough situation because you want to give him time, but at the same time he's getting paid a lot of money, so you don't have to. A player like this, right? He should typically acclimate a lot faster than other players, right? But it's not always the case, and we've seen it with players at LAFC. We've seen it with the LA Galaxy, and it's also the type of players that LA Galaxy have brought through the years, right? So it's very interesting because you're kind of like a little bit like, all right, we'll be patient with them, but at the same time, it's like how much patience is enough patience, right? Because it's also this year that they want to compete for a championship. Now, I don't think it's the worst and end all be all for Kevin Cabral for this game. I just think if he was able to impact the game in a different way, he wasn't able to really impact the game, and I think that's what's really upsetting to a lot of the fans with this performance. Because if he was able to do something on the offensive end or win a tackle or get an assist or something like that, like Victor Vasquez, then you're like, okay, he didn't score, but he got us on the board. His pass, his assist, it did something. But unfortunately, we did not see that. So I kind of always wondered if he's either trying to do too much or he's overthinking what he has to do. Because I mean, the dude is great on the wing. I mean, I saw a lot more from Grand Sur in the game and be able to attack. And I think you want both sides to be replicated on the left and right side wing. But unfortunately for Kevin Cabral, it was not the case. But talking about Victor Vasquez, I got his assist and I got the goal of Revolution. I don't play it here.
The far side it goes. Again, Vasquez, 2 assists on the year. Back in front, Revolution! 1-0 Galaxy!
Revolution running into space in front of his man and gets a clean header right outside the 6. And a player of his ability can just pick out wherever he wants to go with that one, and it's 1-0.
Alex, give me your thoughts on Revolution and the job he's done for the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, Revolution definitely has been a revelation, really, for this team. Over the past couple of years, the team's been playing with around probably like 2 holding midfielders, I would say. And then now with Revolution, you can just have one, and that's him. He's very versatile, really quick, great composure in the midfield, and just great defender as well. Even the time he's played at center back, he's looked really good and really solid. I've really liked him a lot, and I think he's probably the best signing for the team so far over, Bond and all these other players, because he's making his impact known like immediately, and he's not even like fully at match fit yet. He's still working in, he's still, barely getting more training with the staff, and still learning Vanny's system as well. So it's really impressive that he's gotten off to such a hot start, really in the league. And Victor Vasquez's assist was great. Vancouver did horrible when it came to pressuring Vasquez. They gave him time to just sit there and pick out the pass perfectly. And you can't do that with Victor Vasquez. He's got great vision. He's a great passer of the ball. And he's had these crosses so many times put into the box for Galaxy players. Cabral's had a couple headers he couldn't finish. And now you give one to Revolution and he puts it away easily. So that's something I'm kind of looking forward to seeing. We might see, Revolution be that number 1 guy when it comes to headers, to that Victor Vasquez, cross into the box, and somebody getting ahead on it and scoring. So overall, great goal by Revolution, and just great assist as well by Vasquez.
Yeah, no, I mean, Revolution, 2 goals already in the short time he's been with the LA Galaxy, and both have been headers, man. I mean, you can barely see how talented he is. He can just play, wherever you put him on the field. He's played, like you said, center back, played in the midfield, obviously getting these 2 goals. Johnny, what are your thoughts on Revolution?
I mean, he's everything that we've needed. Same thing with Vasquez. It's for a long time we've wanted to have a midfield that keeps possession, that's not afraid of the one-on-one, that's not afraid to put the pedal to the metal when they need to. And these 2 players are the ones that do it. These 2 guys that we signed, Vasquez and Revolution. And I think games like that, even like with the Vancouver game, besides the goal, it's whenever I see them with the ball, I feel comfortable. And last season in 2020, there was only one player I think we all felt that with. Now it's Pavone. When he gets the ball, we're like, okay, cool. It's cool for like 5 seconds. But with Revolution and Vasquez, whenever they get the ball, we know we're okay. We know that we're in safe hands. It's that confidence that we haven't had for so long, and they bring that to every single game. And that's just what I absolutely love watching them play.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's definitely an exciting player, and he's an offensive threat that I was not expecting to see. Obviously, he plays a defensive midfielder, but that's just the cherry on top, right? For Revolution, he's able to get you on the board. Andy, what are your thoughts on Revolution?
Yeah, he's acclimated great, and I think that process is what we expected from Kevin Cabral, and it just hasn't happened. Like he just came in hot. He's played 3 games, just scored 2 goals, already has more goals than Grand Sur and Cabral combined. Like you said, it's an offensive threat that you don't expect, but it's more so about what Johnny and Alex are talking about, players that make you feel comfortable and are able to control a game in that midfield. You can't – if you're looking for a moment right now, right, with the team being down a few players through injury, through Gold Cup, whatever the case may be, you're looking for players to pop out, and he's being that guy, that's going to go leaps and bounds. And I think that he's earning, the trust of the fans, the trust of the staff and all that. I'm interested to see what happens when this team is at 100%, because now Greg has lined it up that he has the pieces that he wants. And I've said this earlier too on the show, early in the season, that this is going to allow Sebastian Lletget to push forward and become so much more of a problem in that attack, which is, I think, when the Galaxy would be at their best, having Lletget be more of an offensive-minded player, not having to step back too much. And if you have a player like that there, it's going to ease up a lot of that. So I think that him playing this well already, obviously he was dealing with some cramps or whatever it was, which is why he came off, which is normal. But having a player that's playing that well already is gonna be very, very impressive and very good for the Galaxy in the future when you get all these players back. Hopefully at one point at 100% and have everybody to pick from.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the biggest thing because, right, obviously a loss to the last place team, it never feels good. But if you can look past that, which I know it's hard, if you're a Galaxy fan, you can only think after August 1st, that's when the Gold Cup ends. That's when the final is, August 1st, that you're gonna have these players back like in a month from now, like less than 30 days from now, you're gonna have your full team, hopefully healthy, hopefully available to play, and you could be talking about this LA Galaxy being a real threat, right? You talked about Sebastian Lletget. I would also add Efrain Alvarez. I think that could open up the game for Efrain Alvarez a lot too. If he does play that number 10 role. But the possibility are endless. But the only downside with all these guys being out is the lineups. The bench is really thin, right? That's the most difficult thing about the LA Galaxy is that their bench is so thin. With everything going on, and all these teams are missing players, but there's also all other MLS teams that are missing players as well. So I don't want to necessarily say, hey, this is an excuse, but because everybody's going through the same thing, But I think if you can look a little bit past, you want to get the result. You don't want to come out with this road trip because tomorrow they'll play RSL and then they travel to Houston. Dallas. Excuse me. They travel to Dallas, right? So it's like you don't want to leave. You want to get some points on the road. Points on the road are always difficult, but you also want to get these while these guys aren't here. G-Man in the chat says, Galaxy having bad luck with players named Kevin. Kevin Kitchen pissed off Zlatan. Not Kevin Cabral pissing off Galaxy fans.
Kevin Kitchen, man.
I love that.
Kevin Kitchen, man. That story made me laugh. I had to post that on Instagram a couple weeks ago. But yeah, hey, Galaxy fans, you have every right to be upset with Kevin Cabral, but I wouldn't hold it. I wouldn't hold a grudge necessarily because I think things may change within next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to change next game, but I think he does obviously benefit from like a player like Chicharito and having those other offensive weapons there. So let's talk about Chicharito. I think Greg Vanney said that he'd be questionable. I think the last press call before the game, he talked about Chicharito being questionable for Wednesday's game. I don't think Chicharito will play this game because or else he already would have flown there. But there is a possibility that he flies to RSL. It's not too far of a flight. But I think he just posted a picture. Looks like he's still in LA. I'm just going off his picture. Looks like it's in LA. It could have just been taken. But I don't think he's going to be available. Alex, what are your thoughts on Chicharito potentially playing tomorrow?
Hopefully that's, as a Galaxy fan, that's what you want. Top scorer of the team so far definitely has been missing. Zubac's been, all right, so far. Filling in at that void, but has been spectacular or amazing. Like I've mentioned, at times his positioning, attacking wise, isn't really up there. Or Chicharito, the thing that's so special about him is his movements in the box. Zubac can't really replicate that. Only Chicharito can do that, and he's known to do that. So what you're getting out of Chicharito. With Zubac, you're still trying to figure that out as well. I would say for Zubac and Augie Williams, these 3 games were probably their chance to really impress and really, be like, hey, we're capable bench strikers in case, you need somebody off the bench, or if, some players injured, like right now, Chicharito is, because in MLS, there's so many strikers and players that, when they have their opportunities, they can't capitalize. And, that's the last you hear of them, unfortunately, and, I really don't want that for Zubac or Augie Williams. I want them to stay with this team, and I want them to be able to, put the ball in the back of the net at times, especially when they're needed right now. So if Chicharito does come back, which I kind of hope he doesn't, because I really want him to recover well from his injury. I don't want there to be any lingering pain or any lingering sensation. I want him to fully come back at 100%, not like 95, 85%. I want him fully fit, and I want to make sure, there's no risk of re-injury, really. Because if we're struggling like this without him for 3 games, just imagine, 3 more weeks, or heck, who knows, hopefully not 3 months, So I just want to make sure that he's completely fit and ready to go once he feels that, this isn't bothering me anymore, and can go for, let's say, maybe 80 minutes.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think Greg Vanny echoed that they really want to bring Chicharito back when he's fully 100%. Jonny, Alex brought up a great point about the bench, right? About Augie Williams and obviously Zubac being able to step up, because this is definitely the time to step up if you're Augie Williams. And Greg Vanny the other day, a couple of weeks ago, he pretty much called Augie Williams and pretty much said that, paraphrasing here, that the effort wasn't there since he signed his first team deal. And I think obviously when a coach calls you out, I mean, you got to step up, So I think this is definitely a time for Augie Williams. I know he played. I got to look back how many minutes he was able to play, but we know Zubac is a staple, but I think definitely look at this when with Augie Williams gets opportunity, even if it's 10 minutes. I mean, you got to try to find a way when your team is struggling. But Jonny, what are your thoughts on this?
I think Augie Williams played about around 20 minutes in our last game with the Whitecaps, and I think it's a great opportunity for these guys. I love Ethan Zubac. I don't think he's that guy though. I just don't think he is. He doesn't really seem like a worry on the field. I don't think defenses stay up at night thinking about, okay, like what do we got to do to mark Zubac? He always just kind of doesn't really know how to play with these guys, and it seems that the only time Zubac ever does great is with Chicha. So for asking him to perform without him, he just seems so lost. And that's how the entire season for us was last year in 2020. Zubac had that opportunity. He had so many opportunities to stand up and be that guy, and he just wasn't. And we've been saying this a lot is, hey, we need a backup striker. We need a backup striker. If I'm Zubac and I'm hearing that, he's got to change something, because he's not going to be that guy. We're going to sign a backup striker, and then we're not going to see Zubac for a while. Augie Williams, he's been getting more playing time. I think the last time we talked about this, I said I hope I can see him a couple times before the season ends, and he's playing way more already than I thought he would. And it's the same thing. He's got to seize those opportunities. He's got to play with confidence. He's got to be able to make the center backs worry, make the D worry. And honestly, I just don't see that with either of them. They look so lost when they're on the field, and they don't play like they're MLS players. And something I wanted to touch up on with the Chicha thing real quick was that, again, the MLS is not like any other league in the world. If we had relegation and promotion and you win the league with most points, I think Vanny would say, no, we need Chicha back. We got to have this kid back. But I think, and me too, I think we're all saying this as well, is that we know we can make the playoffs with this current team. Go as long as you can without Chicha, and say, take the time you need, be the best you can be when you come back, because we're holding the house down right now. We're doing what we need to do, and we're going to make the playoffs either way at this rate. I think Greg Vanny knows that, and I think that's why there's not really a lot of pressure to bring Chicha back. But as far as Zubac and Augie Williams goes, they gotta play like they're in the MLS. This is the big boy league, and I don't think I've seen them play like that at all.
Yeah, and I think to your point on that, it's a great opportunity for Augie Williams, and I'm with you. I think you wait on Chicharito. Andy, I'm going to pass this question on to you from G-Man. He says, do you think Coach Vanny was out of line for calling out Augie publicly instead of handling it internally?
No, I don't think so. I think that Vanny has earned enough respect in the league, obviously in this organization, but just in MLS in general. And I think it's good because you guys are bringing up good points. Like, after Chicharito, what do you have? This is not just a problem this year. It's not just a problem last year. It was a problem when Zlatan was here. It was a problem you can't just have one person that scores all the goals. As great as Zlatan was, what did that get the Galaxy? Playoff exits, and that's that. So the same thing with Chicharito. He has 10 goals right now. The second closest to him on the team is Kleshton and Revolucion with 2 each. So it's like you need more than just Chicharito being the guy. So when he gets out, he's missing a few games, and you see either Augie or you see Zubac, and they're not doing, not at least being anywhere close to productive, then of course that's gonna cause some frustrations. And I think honestly, if you hear a coach saying it to you in practice over and over is one thing, but him saying it that way might send more of a message than it would in practice. Like him being like, listen, man, it's not like he did it with a malicious intent either. It was, just an answer to a question that he was asked. So I'm 100% fine with it. And honestly, if that is the spark that a player may need for any improvements, or just to kind of get a clear message of like, hey, this is an opportunity, because these opportunities don't happen often in MLS. And this is the time that it's happening. Not just Chicharito being injured, but they're also being players out for international duty. Like, these are opportunities that these younger players have to step up, and teams around the league are going through this everywhere. So it's like if you need especially goals because you know that your star striker is out, then you got to light a fire under whoever is supposed to be those people, which is why I think the pressure is on Cabral and these younger players to do something. Because if you're going to rely on Chicharito, I'm sorry, man. We already see what happens when a team like the Sounders set up a wall and just suffocate him. Like, it's not going to go well for the Galaxy if they just rely on one player to score goals.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you. And on the Kevin Cabral point, G-Man, I was the one that asked the question. I asked him, like, I was like, what are you, I forgot what I asked, but I just asked, like, Vanny, just something along the lines of, when we could see, Augie Williams. I will say I was surprised at how honest and upfront he was about essentially calling Augie Williams. But to Andy's point, like, Greg Vanny has earned the respect to say that, because it didn't come out like, malicious or anything like that. It came out truthful. But I also think when a coach does that, it does it to motivate the player, and to say that, like, hey, you're just not putting in enough work. And, but since then, though, since I asked him, Augie Williams has been getting some playing time. He got playing time the next game, and he's been getting more. Obviously, now that Chicharito has not been available, he's getting more and more playing time. But I think it's definitely more on Augie Williams than on Greg Vanny, because look, if Augie Williams, a lot of people on Twitter were asking about Augie Williams getting some playing time, but we finally found out the truth. Why? And Vanny told us the truth. Well, if a player's not putting in the amount of effort that the coach believes a player should be on the practice field, then it's very hard for a coach to want to trust them in a game time situation, right? You look down the bench, and right, the trust level is just not there if you're not putting in the work and the effort on the practice. So I think it's more on Augie Williams. Now, do we need him to come in and, like, score 10 goals or anything like that? No, but impact the game. Go a little harder on practice, right? Try to see what Chicharito has done, and to try to replicate your game as close as you can. Obviously, no one can do what the things Chicharito does, but, like, when you have a striker like that and you've had him in practice and you see his movements, the best thing about Chicharito is his movements inside the box and how he moves and how he knows where the time where the ball is going to be inside the box. And I think that's definitely a skill, but that's something he's definitely learned through his whole life. And I think those are different things that obviously Zubac's not necessarily like that, but, like, Augie Williams could definitely has the speed. He has agility to be able to time those runs and find those runs. It's just you got to learn and you got to watch a little bit more of the film. But yeah, I think it's definitely more on Augie Williams and what he's been able to do for this Galaxy team, because they definitely need someone else to score. Alex, I want to ask you about obviously this game against RSL tomorrow. Obviously, in this game road trip, what are your thoughts? What would be a successful road trip for the Galaxy? Obviously, we know they lost the first game.
Just look like a confident team again. In their last game at home against Dallas, they dominated. They looked like they were the better team that day. They had good possession of the ball, had good offensive sprints. Creating chances, and that's what you want to see from this team. We know some of our key players are missing. We just want to be able to show that if they are gone in any situation, whether it be injury or sickness or whatever the case may be, that we can step up in that position. I obviously now, we want to get all 6 points now, especially with, the Sounders falling. And it looks like they may continue to fall with their upcoming schedule, because they're heading to Austin, and Austin looks like a hard place to play right now. So we got to capitalize on that. Andy mentioned too, SKC missing 3 of their best players, now going to lose one of their best players for the rest of the MLS season, maybe. So, now's the time to really step it up. And even beforehand, Gio and Eli, last time we came on, we were talking like, man, what a successful road trip this can be. Sounders look like really vulnerable. SKC looks vulnerable. We can get all 9 points, be top of the West, top of Supporters Shield, standings. But, unfortunately, kind of a bit of a fallback from reality from that point on. So I just want to see that our team can create chances, play well on both ends, offense and defense, and just overall look like a solid team and a team that's hard to break down. I understood that, Vancouver, they did well. They kind of have a little bit of a recipe of how to kind of, push the Galaxy a bit more and make it difficult for them. But I'm really, really glad that, we're kind of seeing these learning curves, because as I mentioned earlier, Ethan Zubak has said, we try not to lose back-to-back games. And I think this game against RSL can be a big test and see if that statement could continue to stay true.
Yeah, no, I mean, you make a great point, and G-Man also brings up another great point. RSL have that Wonder One Ochoa going to be a battle of the walls. Ochoa versus Bond, which wall will crack first? I mean, Ochoa has looked amazing, even though they got the loss against LAFC this past weekend. Ochoa is looking solid. I mean, he first caught my eye when he was playing with the U.S. men's national team. Was it the Gold Cup team? The team was trying to compete for the Gold Cup. Johnny, what are your thoughts on obviously Ochoa and the Galaxy playing this week or tomorrow?
The thing is that what I saw against the Whitecaps, and it's really basic, but we weren't playing together. Derek Williams and Depew, they're fantastic. They can do this. I don't think Williams has played enough games to be comfortable yet. He hasn't. He came late in April, and then a couple games later got a red card and was gone for 6 games. Williams is still getting acclimated. Depew's fantastic. He's been surprising all of us the last couple of games. They can do it. That back line can do it. I hate to make excuse. It was just a bad day. I think we had a bad day at the office against the Whitecaps, and the way to recover against RSL is to play together. If our back line is solid, Bond is going to be fantastic. We have the attack. I don't like I said, I don't think Zubac is really ever going to be the guy, but Cabral, if he can make, and again, I am a Cabral supporter. If he can make the easy pass, we're going to be perfectly fine. Most of the time when I'm watching the Galaxy, I hate how we'll pass back and we're afraid to be creative and all of that stuff. But with Cabral, it's the complete opposite. I want him to make the easy pass. I want him to pass back. He can do when we make these links and we play together like that and we take our time and possess, we can beat any team in the league. It's just those little issues that we have to tighten up. Use Grandsir more. Cabral make the easier pass, and Zubac, try not to run aimlessly around the pitch, and we'll be fine. We'll win the game. Comfortably. We can do that. This team currently can be the best team in the league, and I firmly believe that. But we just have to tighten up a little bit, get our not be so mental about it, and we'll be fine. Last game with the Whitecaps, I think the really big issue was our work ethic. If you when you saw the second goal, Kleshchen gave the ball away, and he was jogging. He wasn't sprinting. He was jogging after the player, and our center backs messed up. We have to have a better work ethic, and we have to play together, and we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and I mean it's going to be a very interesting game. You said Ethan Zubac talked about one of the goals is not losing back-to-back games that have not done that yet. Even if they get a tie, that still holds true tomorrow. So
the Galaxy haven't gotten a tie yet this year at all. It's either been win or loss for the Galaxy. Never in between.
Well, that can be good and bad, but so far it's been throughout the season. It's been good for the Galaxy. Andy, what are your thoughts? Obviously, going into this game tomorrow for the Galaxy.
Yeah, you guys mentioned it. The back-to-back losses is a curious thing because he said that they mentioned that in their goals for the season early on, which is pretty interesting. And the fact that they don't have to travel, the fact that they're already there is definitely beneficial for the team for fitness and whatnot. But if I'm being honest, man, RSL, like I said earlier, RSL is going to be a lot more of a tougher test than Vancouver was. This is a team that is not making it easy for anybody in the West that they have to play. They've shown teams that they're not going to be pushover. They're not afraid to go and try to get games. So I think Vanny has his work cut out for him because he knows what happens in his last game. He knows that, like Johnny had mentioned, it was kind of just a bit of a disconnect, whether it was defensively, midfield, just something that wasn't linking up there that needs to get fixed, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whatever the case may be. But it's not going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. And they're going back to the same thing. It's like, okay, you're playing in this altitude. You're trying to make sure that your players at peak fitness, but it's not easy. Like you guys mentioned, Williams is just getting acclimated again. You have Raul's son that was fighting this cramps, and you don't know, he probably will be fine bouncing back, but that's something you have to monitor as well. So these things start to add up, and that's why these middle of the week games are always so difficult. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Galaxy lose this game. I also wouldn't be surprised to see them win it, but like I said, I think this will be a much more tougher test, especially what G-Man mentioned. When you have a keeper of that caliber that's been playing so well. And RSL is going back home after a game here in LA that they probably thought they should have gotten a point out of at the bare minimum. So they're going to be hungry to try to, get some points back on the board and close those gaps in the West. So one note, this regionalized schedule that I hate so much in MLS, they have to play Vancouver and Salt Lake right again in August. The first two games in August are back-to-back games against Vancouver and Salt Lake here, obviously in Carson. So it's opponents that what they're gonna bring, and you can't really make any excuses at this point. You're gonna have to go and give them your best, whether it's Zubac, whether whoever else is out there. But I'm gonna make my bold prediction here. Samuel Grandsir finally scores a goal because he's been
Nice.
why not? He's finally going to get it. He's finally going to get it.
He's been so close lately, very close.
Man, when he hit that post in that last game, I was like, wow, that was. I mean, like you guys kind of mentioned it earlier. Like he's doing. I think that when he first got here, everybody was like, oh my god, like he needs to do something. But now he's shown that he's actually like contributing in other ways than not just scoring. Whether he's on the right side, whether he's on the left side, you see him kind of tracking back a little bit. But that's the aspect that's missing from the Cabral wing. But it's like he's doing everything but scoring, man. Like he's taking on defenders, he's being aggressive, like he's playing well. So I think he finally gets a breakthrough. And if you get that, that monkey off your back, whatever the so-called term is, then I think that's going to be good for them. So we'll see what happens. But I think he's going to have a good game, and I think he'll score.
I think he's like hit the post 3 times in like the last 3 games too. So he's been really, really close.
Yeah, no, G-Man says not 1, not 2, not 3. But no, I mean,
against Vancouver, man.
Yeah. So I quickly want to look at the standings right here. We got the standings. I'm gonna pull up the standings. So obviously, Galaxy are in 3rd place, right behind Kansas City, obviously with 26 points. Galaxy have 24. Seattle has 29 points, and right behind them, obviously, you got Colorado in 4th place with 21. LAFC in 5th place with 21, and then Minnesota with 18, and Portland with 7. So I mean, they're not. I mean, they've stayed consistently at 3rd. They haven't moved from that 3rd spot for the last couple of weeks. You expected them to get the win last game, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But we'll see what happens tomorrow, and I think it's going to be a very, very interesting game because I think the thing about the midweek games that you brought in, Andy, is like the injuries, right? If Revolution, if the calf is really bothering him, then he may not play because there's another game on Friday or Saturday whenever they play FC Dallas, and so I think that's going to be interesting to see if Greg Vanney decides to play him and how much he decides to play him. And I think that's going to be interesting. But the positive thing for the LA Galaxy is they didn't have to travel. They stayed there, right? And Utah and Real Salt Lake, they stayed there. So that's the positive for them. They get adjusted to the weather, a little bit of the altitude over there in Utah. So we'll see how that helps them moving forward against this RSL team. But it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one because we saw. I mean, against LAFC, we saw the counterattack. How quick they were on the counterattack when they scored their goal against LAFC. They're quick off that counterattack, right? And you don't want to be caught sleeping if you're the LA Galaxy on RSL. But yeah, I think I wanted to add. Oh, G-Man says Jonny Bolen greater than Johnny Bravo.
That's right. That's right.
Johnny Bravo. But yeah, if there's anything, do you guys have anything else to add before we finish things up?
I'll just say one thing. I'm really, really, feeling that this team's really missing Sebastian Lletget. We saw his assist, crossing it into the box and for Shaq Moore. I feel like we're missing that on our team right now. If you couldn't get those kind of quality passes from Lletget, and he saw that he assisted Cabral for his first goal, we kind of need that right now. I don't think Zubac is going to be able to score from inside of the box by himself, so we kind of need those kind of crosses and passes inside the box diagonally for a striker like Zubac or Cabral or Granzier, etc., whoever it may be. So I think the one piece that we're really missing and whose worth is really going up because he's playing good for the U.S. men's national team and for the LA Galaxy. So Sebastian Lletget's the player that we definitely need back soon.
So should we just call him and be like, you know what, enough with the Gold Cup nonsense, come back to the Galaxy?
You already won one trophy with them. Just come back.
You already won Nation Leagues. You don't need the Gold Cup. No, I'm with you. But you know what I will say though, I think Cabral, the thing that I see Cabral's greatest asset and what he doesn't do enough of is going one-on-one with the defender on the wing. And I think with that, going one-on-one, I think he can score on his own because he has the speed, he has agility, he has he's quick with the ball and stuff. But I think maybe it's the confidence wanting to go one-on-one. Obviously, maybe the offense is not set up that way for him. But I think sometimes if it's Cabral and the defender, 9 times out of 10, I would trust Cabral to take on the defender. But I don't see that confidence necessarily of him just yet. And I think that's the thing that's missing because if he's able to take on, defenders one-on-one on the left wing side a couple times, he doesn't have to do it every single time. But, I mean, with his speed, with his agility, he can definitely get past the defenders and, try to get one-on-one with the goalkeeper. I think we did see it one time at home and he just missed it. But I think we'll have to see what happens moving forward. But, yeah, But last comment for G-Man. Cabral has identical twin. What Kevin is trolling us, and the person playing is Bro Remy.
Oh yeah, that's right, a brother.
He might be just chilling right now. I might not be on the field. I got two things. Number one, I'm excited for what's ahead for the Galaxy because I think after this, let's just say July is ending here with these 3 games, and then we move into August. But the end of August is very important because they have the Cali Clásico, they have El Tráfico, the All-Star game is missed in there, and then it's like more than halfway done with the season. I think that's really when we're going to be able to assess Galaxy moving forward. If they're really, going to be a contender. I mean, there's still going to be like 13, 14 more games left at that point, but by that standard, at the end of August, you might be able to have a lot more of an understanding of like, okay, we got these players back. What do they have? How do they move forward? So I'm excited for how that plays out. And two, today, happy anniversary to Galaxy fans, Zlatan Ibrahimovic
Yes.
against LAFC, which I'll never forget because that was an amazing game to be at. Just a great time. So I had to throw that out there.
I was gonna say it was like they ended up being LAFC 3-2 with Zlatan's 3 goals hat trick. I remember him scoring that first goal, and I was like, no way. And
I still think that was the best goal of the season last year.
I couldn't believe like how he just like flicked it over and just like volleyed it, and I was like, wow. It was just like some of the things that he did. It's like, damn, and you're like, what? He was like 38 or whatever, however old he was, but I was like, man, you really get to see the greatness of Zlatan. Final thoughts.
Loud that day, loud.
Yeah, it was loud. Johnny, final thoughts.
All I want to tell, I'd like to say to all the Galaxy fans is relax. We have all of the tools. We have like every type of player that we need to win championships. I know this sounds crazy. I said this last time. I'm still going to say it. Give Cabral time. He's going to find his place. Last time I said he was going to score a goal. I knew it. Look at that. He did it their game right after. We have this. We're a great team. This actually feels like a rebuilding team. And just like you said, Gio, we're very competitive in our rebuilding year, which isn't usually a thing. So we're in a great spot right now. Even though we just lost to the team on the bottom of the table, we're still in a fantastic spot. And when everybody returns and our team is at 100% for the first time this season, we are going to be fantastic. And that's it.
Yep. No, I mean, I completely agree. I definitely do not feel like the panic button's there for me for the LA Galaxy. Obviously, a loss is never something that you want to say it's okay. But, with everything going on, the future is bright for the LA Galaxy this summer.
To that point, one quick thing, you have to just give me a yes or no to Johnny's point. Do you believe that the LA Galaxy could compete for a Supporters Shield this year? I think I know Johnny's answer already.
Supporters Shield, the way the standings are set up, they're 5 points behind the Seattle Sounders. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
definitely see that. They compete. Yeah.
And I think, again, it's when we're at 100%. I think all the Galaxy fans right now should be happy because we had a horrible, horrible last couple of years. So I feel great right now, man. We just lost to Vancouver, and I still feel great. I'm so stoked. And I think, we absolutely can win the Supporters Shield. But, me personally, I got to be honest, I don't care about the Supporters Shield. I don't care. I want to win the MLS Cup, dude.
Yeah,
I want to be the best team at the end of the season. I don't care about the support. If we get it, dude, I'll throw it off to the side. Whatever, man. Give me the MLS Cup. That's all I care about. We're going for heads out here.
Supporters Shield is very overrated, in my opinion, to be honest. You were the best team for the regular season, but I mean, no one's gonna care about that the year afterwards. They're gonna care about if you won the big one,
That's true. Exactly. And we all know the big one, MLS Cup. Well, guys, that's going to wrap the show for tonight. A great show. I went by pretty fast. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys for tuning in. Everybody on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. So for Alex, for Andy, for Johnny, this is Gio. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.